Welcome back. All right, 10 games tonight in the National Hockey League. So 10 games to review, and then we'll take a look at what tonight's games did to the standings. We are now sitting 3 weeks out from Christmas, so the Christmas tree's behind the board, but it's here. You can kind of see the lights down here. At any rate, we'll go ahead. We'll jump in talking about the St. Louis Blues and the Boston Bruins. First, it was Binnington versus Korpisalo in this one, and it stays scoreless until 6:29. Steves has been really productive for Boston. Steve scores on a cross-ice pass via a 2-on-1 rush. Geekie and Elias Lindholm with the assists. And then at 11:25, so not too long after that goal, it becomes 2-0. Geekie with a wrister from the inner slot, Elias Lindholm, and Steves with the assists. So Steves with a goal and a helper. It's 2-0 Boston. That's your score after the first period. Second period, early on, at 1:59, Buchnevich buries one on a pass from behind the net. Parayko with the assist there, making it 2-1. However, Boston would get that back. At 6:04, Arvidsson with a one-timer from the right circle. Lowry and Soderstrom with the assists. So Victor Soderstrom gets a point in his first game as a Bruin. I believe that was Arvidsson's 200th point in the National Hockey League. Could be more than that, but either way, I believe that was a special milestone for him. Apologies, I didn't get it on the board. Then at 12:26, Boston adds another to make their lead 3. Zacha wires one glove side from the slot on a rush. Arvidsson and Lowry with the assists. So 4-1 in favor of Boston. And before the period's out at 19:59, 0.2 seconds left. You got to play to the whistle. Or play to the buzzer. Zacha ends up getting what's a power play goal. What's interesting is the power play only started with 10 seconds left in the period. Zacha gets this one from Elias Lindholm and Geekie. It's 5-1 Boston after 2. In the third period, almost halfway through, Suter would make it 5-2. He chips one in on a pass from behind the net at 9:05. Holloway and Kyrou with the assists. With 9:36 left, the Bruins get a power play. That ends up being killed off. And Boston ends up winning this one at home 5-2 over the Blues. Your 3 stars, Korpisalo, Geekie, and Zacha. Shots on net, 14-10 Boston in the first, 15-8 St. Louis in the second, 14-5 St. Louis in the third. Final shots are actually 39-27 for the Blues. Power plays, St. Louis 0-1, Boston 1-2. The hits, 31-19 for St. Louis, so they outshot him and outhit him. Binnington, 22 saves on 27 shots. Korpisalo, good night for him, 37 saves on 39 shots. All right, next up, the New York Rangers and the Ottawa Senators. Well, the Rangers are on the road, so here we are. Shesterkin versus Marilainen, and 3:19 in. The road Rangers score first. It's a cross-ice pass and in. It's a 2-on-1 rush goal. Zibanejad gets the goal from Miller and Panarin. Then almost halfway through the period, the Rangers make it a 2-goal lead. At 9:45, it's a wrister from the left circle. Gavrikov scoring on what was only the third shot on net for the Rangers. Schneider and Miller with the assist. So they score on 2 of their first 3 shots, and they're up 2-0. Late in the period, on a power play at 18:30, Cousins with a one-timer from the left circle makes it 2-1. That's Dylan Cousins. The assist to Batherson and Sanderson. So it's a 2-1 score after 1 period of play. In the second, kind of a quiet period of hockey, other than the fact that at 7:24, off of a good forecheck, Borgen buries a point shot past a screen to make it 3-1. Soucy and Brodzinski with the assists. And Ottawa was having a hard time really generating much in that period. They were outshot almost 2-1 in that period by the Rangers, and it's 3-1 after 2. Third period with 7:51 left, the Sens get a power play, and they score on it. 13:08, Batherson deflects one in to cut the lead to a goal. Tkachuk and Sanderson with the assists. So eventually, you got to pull the goaltender, which means the Rangers hit the empty net. Panarin at 19:16 from Miller and Trocheck makes your final score 4-2 for the New York Rangers. Your 3 stars are Shesterkin, Panarin, and Sanderson. Shots on net, 11-9 Ottawa in the first, 12-7 Rangers in the second, 9-6 Ottawa in the third. Final shots, both teams at 27. Power plays 0-1 for the Rangers, 2-3 for Ottawa. The hits, 29-20 for Ottawa. Shesterkin saves 25 out of 27. Marilainen saved 23 out of 26. All right. Next up, Pittsburgh and Tampa. Jari versus Johansson. And 6 minutes and 12 seconds in, Pittsburgh will get themselves a lead, and they do it on the power play. It's a wrister from the left circle past the screen. Koivunen gets his first NHL goal on the play. Letang and Novak with the assist. So 6:12 into the first, it's 1-0, and that score would hold through the first 20 minutes. Second period at 7:53, Malkin decides to do it himself. He goes 5-hole on a net drive, makes it 2-0, so Malkin heating up. Then at 9:49, so less than 2 minutes later, during a power play, it's a point shot that's tipped in by Kindle. Carlson and Malkin with the assists, so 3-0 lead for Pittsburgh. But Tampa would start a comeback. Late in the period at 18:46, from the doorstep on a cross-ice pass, Kucherov buries one, Radish and Gensel with the assists, so that makes it 3-1 Pittsburgh. That's your score through 2 periods. In the third, on a power play at 1:17, Hagel roofs one past the screen to make it 3-2. The assist to Kucherov and Radish. And then the comeback is complete. At 11:44, it is Hagel burying one in close on a net drive. Paul and Gonsalves with the assists. It's 3-3. Looks like this one's probably going to overtime until at 17:17, Malkin buries one in close. It was a tic-tac-toe play to make that happen. The assist to Novak and Mantha. Then, controversy. Tampa Bay would tie it during the 6-on-5, so the goalie's pulled. And then they announced that there's a league-initiated review for the possibility of a hand pass. They decided, yes, it hits the glove. Yes, it's a hand pass. And therefore, John Cooper's very angry when this game's done. Tampa fans are not happy either. Your final score in this one ends up being 4-3 for Pittsburgh, as Tampa just was not able to find that tying goal again. So 4-3 win for Pittsburgh. A little bit of controversy there. 3 stars, Malkin, Hagel, and Kucherov. Obviously, I'm understating that a little bit, but yeah, we'll see what comes out of this. Because Cooper was very clear after the game that he felt it was the wrong call. And sometimes the NHL hands out fines when you discuss officiating like that. Shots on net, 15-8 Tampa in the first, 11-9 Pittsburgh in the second, 16-12 Tampa in the third. Final shots are 40-31 for the Lightning. Power plays, 2 for 4 for Pittsburgh, 1 for 6 for Tampa. The hits, 21-13 Pittsburgh. Jari saves 37 out of 40. I thought he should have been one of the 3 stars. Johansson saves 27 out of 31 at the other end. So weird, too, that the 3 stars are Malkin, Hagel, and Kucherov, because the Penguins did win. And I felt like Carlson could have got one of the 3 stars. But anyways, it's fine. It's fine. All right, next up. The Nashville Predators and the Florida Panthers, Saros versus Bobrovsky, and late in the period, Florida would get the lead, as everyone would have expected. At 16:26, for Hagee buries one on a 2-on-1 rush. Bennett and Greer with the assists, makes it 1-0. That's your score after 1. In the second period, with 3 seconds left in that period, there's a power play for Nashville. Florida had 3 power plays in that second period, so a lot of power plays, opportunities, sure. Saros was great. Stays at 1-0 after 2. Third period, there was a goal, potentially, but it's reviewed, and no, it didn't cross the goal line. So the Preds do not score. It stays 1-0, but then they get it back. At 13:41, O'Reilly puts one in from the doorstep to tie it. Bunting and Haig with the assists, making it 1-1. And Nashville gets this all the way to overtime. The Panthers would control early. Both teams generated opportunities. And then at 4:01, after the net's been knocked off, but it was knocked off by Florida, so the goal counts, Stamkos buries one from the slot. O'Reilly and Jost with the assists. Makes it 2-1 for Nashville. They did review it to see, and yeah, it's a good goal. The chess magnets on the board because there was 3 goals in this game. Nashville gets the victory. 3 stars. Stamkos, Verhaeghe, and Saros. Shots on net, 9 apiece in the first, 16-5 Florida in the second, 12-3 Nashville in the third. Both teams had 3 shots in the overtime. Final shots, 31-29 for Florida. Power plays, Nashville 0 for 5, Florida 0 for 6. The hits, both teams had 19. Saros saves 30 out of 31. Bobrovsky had a good game. 27 saves on 29 shots. Just didn't have the goal support because Saros was fantastic at the other end. All right, next up. The Colorado Avalanche and the New York Islanders, Blackwood versus Sorokin. So the Islanders would score, and there's a goalie interference challenge, and it fails. At 5:56, McLean is credited with the goal, the assist to Pulock and Gatcomb, and this also means the Islanders go on a power play, which Colorado does kill off. There was nice appreciation showed towards Brock Nelson for a video package he got on his return to New York, so that was nice to see. And then at 18:20, it's a cross-ice pass and in off of a 2-on-1 rush. Lee scores from Barzal, making it 2-0 for the Islanders, and that would be your score through 1. Second period, 6:58 in, the Islanders widen the lead. Surprised me too. Horvat buries one from the slot, Schaefer and Pulock with the assists, and then a minute and 1 second later, they score again. This time it's Pelech from a distance on a failed clear by Colorado. Barzal and Lee with the assists. So it's a 4-0 lead. If it's anybody else, we look at that and go, it's probably done. But if it's either Colorado or Dallas, you never know. So the comeback starts at 8:39. So 40 seconds after it became 4-0, it becomes 4-1. Nichushkin tips in a point shot. Malinsky and Nelson with the assists. And then just past the halfway mark of the period at 10:04, Natchez puts one in off Mitchell on a rush. Olofsson with the assist. It's 4-2. And a 2-goal lead against Colorado doesn't necessarily mean a whole lot. However, late in the period, the Islanders get it back during the power play at 18:45. It's a backhand. It's a beast mode goal by Barzal. Absolutely gorgeous goal. The assist to Shabanov and Horvat. That's got to be like goal of the night candidate right there. Makes it 5-2. That's your score through 2 periods. But you know in the third, Colorado's not giving up. So at 1:27, early in the period, it becomes a 2-goal lead again. Lehkonen roofs one from a sharp angle. Makar and Natchez with the assists. Now it's 5-3. With 3:17 left, the Avs get a power play. So key power play, you got to pull the goalie to make it a 6-on-4. And just after that power play ends, at 18:45, Cizikas hits the empty net to make it a 3-goal lead and make your final score 6-3. The Islanders give the Avs their second regulation loss of the season. Your 3 stars are Barzal, Lee, and Horvat. Shots on net, 19-16 Colorado in the first. So defense, what's defense? In the second, 16-7 Islanders. In the third, 12-10 for the Colorado Avalanche. Final shots, 42-38 for the Islanders. The power plays, 0-3 for Colorado, 1-3 for the Islanders. The hits, 26-18 for Colorado. Blackwood saves 36 out of 41, and Sorokin saves 35 out of 38 in the victory. All right, next up, last one on this board is Toronto and Carolina. So, Woll versus Anderson, and 53 seconds in, Toronto opens the scoring. McMahon buries one on a rush. It was the first shot on net, and it's the first goal. The assists to Raw and McCabe. And then at 11:45, Lawton with one that just takes a weird bounce off the boards, ends up going in the net. Lawton scores this one from Myers and Benoit. It's 2-0 in favor of the Toronto Maple Leafs. And this is where we can have the discussion about Freddie Anderson not necessarily putting up great numbers in recent games. But at 15:45, Jarvis, and my understanding is Carolina has a great record when Jarvis gets a goal, so he gets a goal here and a cross-ice pass. Gostisbehere-Aho with the assists makes the score 2-1 for Toronto. That's your score through 20 minutes. In the second period, 4:44 in. It's a backhand on a fast break by Matthew Nyes that restores the 3-goal lead for Toronto. The assist to Domi and Riley. Then just past the halfway mark of the game, Toronto would score again. This time at 10:39, it's a 2-on-1 rush, or 3-on-1 rush, I should say, and it's a one-timer by Matthews. Domi and Nyes with the assists. So not great defense on that one, but they don't get that save from Freddie Anderson either. And after it became 4-1, there were some Bronx cheers when Freddie Anderson held the puck. You know, the whole yay when he makes like an easy save, that kind of thing. I've never quite understood the mockery of one's own goaltender. I've never quite understood why one would do that, especially when there's so much time left. And it's a Toronto team that doesn't have necessarily a fantastic record, but it's 4-1 after 2. Third period with 6:57 left, the Leafs get a power play. That is killed off, but it does take 2 minutes off the clock. Eventually, Carolina pulls the goaltender down by 3, and at 18:16, McMahon hits the empty net. Roy with the assist. Toronto goes into Carolina and wins 5-1. So Toronto's having a good week, and on Saturday they're at home against Montreal. So we'll see how that goes. Your 3 stars in this one, Nyes, Domi, and Matthews. Shots on net, 13-7 Carolina in the first, 10-8 Carolina in the second. Both teams had 9 shots in the third. Final shots, 32-24 in favor of Carolina. Power plays, Toronto 0-2, Carolina 0-3. The hits, 20-18 for Toronto. Woll saved 22 out of 23 and seemed to injure himself. He does not finish the game. Hildeby saves all 9 shots in relief, so Toronto's won back-to-back, but now Woll's going to be out, maybe, so might be time for some panic. Freddie Anderson saved 19 out of 23, and I think it's valid to ask how Carolina's goaltending is going to look as the season goes along, because Freddie Anderson, the numbers just haven't been great lately. All right, let's go to board number 2. All right, so let's talk about the first of 2 80s games we had tonight. Detroit and Columbus, Talbot versus Merzlikins. It certainly did not look like it was going to be an 80s game in that first period. At 17:55, Columbus gets what would be the only goal of the first period. Provorov with a point shot pass to screen. Brendan Gaunce with the assist. It is 1-0 in favor of Columbus, and that's your score through 1. Second period, this is where the goals start to show up. On a power play at 109, it's Dylan Larkin tipping in a point shot. Sider and Raymond with the assists. Columbus would get a power play that they would score on. At 5:18, it's Marchenko from the left circle, and it took 12 seconds for this power play to click. The assist to Werenski and Monahan. Then at 7 minutes and 11 seconds, so less than 2 minutes later, Johnson buries a rebound on a turnover. Sillinger and Matejchuk with the assists. Columbus with their second lead of the game. They're now up 3-1. There, that's better. They already had the lead at 2-1. Now it's 3-1. Then we get a 4-minute power play for the Wings, and during the first 2 minutes at 9:07, it's a wrister pass to screen by Raymond. It cuts the lead to 1 goal. The assist to Sandin Pellikka and Patrick Kane. Then at 10:20, so during the second half of that 4-minute power play, they score again. This time it's Van Riemsdyk roofing one from the doorstep. Kopp and Finney with the assists, so we have a 3-3 tie. Then Columbus gets a power play. They score on that one as well. At 13:50, Fantilli with a one-timer from the right circle. Werenski and Monahan with the assists. So that makes it 4-3 for Columbus, and that would be your score through 2 periods of play. It stays that way through a lot of the third period, but at 9:35, Detroit ties the game. Kane puts one in from the high slot. Sider and Kopp with the assists, so at 9:35, it becomes 4-4. And then at 11:38, DeBrincat wires one glove side for the lead. So DeBrincat makes it 5-4, and that lead holds up until 18:29. The goalie pull had taken place with 2:28 left, and they would score 6 on 5. Fantilli deflects one 5-hole off Johansson. Werenski and Monahan with the assists. So that makes it a 5-5 tie, so the 80s magnet goes on the board. The Wings would control early in the overtime. Columbus had the only shot of the overtime. It's not successful. We go to a shootout. Columbus is successful in the shootout. Johnson and Marchenko both score. It's a 6-5 shootout victory for the Columbus Blue Jackets in this one. Your 3 stars are Fantilli, Werenski, and Marchenko. Shots on net, 8-6 Columbus in the first, 16-9 Detroit in the second, 13-11 Columbus in the third. Columbus had the only shot of overtime as well. Final shots, 33-31 for Detroit. Power plays, they were successful. 3 for 5 for Detroit, 2 for 3 for Columbus. The hits, 24-15 for Columbus. Talbot saves 26 out of 31. Elvis Merzlikins saves 28 out of 33. All right, next up, Minnesota and Calgary. Gustafsson versus Wolf. Kind of a quiet first period with 4:29 left. There's a power play for the Wild of 4 minutes. And Calgary kills that off. So after the first period, we do not have a score. Minnesota had a lot of opportunities. And then Calgary seemed to have some confidence in that second period. 4:21 in. Huberdeau buries a rebound in close. Anderson and Coronado with the assists, so that makes it 1-0. That lead would hold through most of the period. At 16:51, Trennan. It's a one-timer that's deflected in. Trennan gets the goal from Bogosian and Buium. So at 16:51 of the second period, we have a 1-1 tie. That would be our score through 2 periods of play. Early in the third period, on a fast break, Coronado wires one to give Calgary the lead back at 2-1. Frost and Hanley with the assists, and not long after at 6:17, Connor Zary goes 5-hole on a 2-on-1 rush. Coleman and Backlund with the assists. So there's Zary with a goal. Eventually, Zary's got to get that puck start going in the net. He's too talented not to score, and that makes it 3-1. 1:13 left. The Wild would call a timeout. They already had the goalie pulled, and at 19:02, Rasmus Andersson hits the empty net. Makes your final score 4-1. The Flames with a huge victory over Minnesota tonight. Your 3 stars in this victory, Coleman, Wolf, and Anderson. Wolf definitely had the kind of start he's needed for a while. Shots on net, 11-6 Minnesota in the first, 15-7 Calgary in the second, 9 apiece in the third. Final shots, 30-27 for Calgary. Power plays, Minnesota 0 for 5, so that hurt him. Calgary 0 for 1. The hits, 24-21 Minnesota. Gustafsson saves 26 out of 29. He's not Wallstead. And Wolf saves 26 out of 27. And the thing is, Gustafsson's numbers have been fine, just Wallstead's have been fantastic. The next game for Minnesota's in Vancouver, so that'll probably be Wallstead. So I know the Canucks are selling some tickets for cheaper right now. I don't know if the Minnesota game's included, but anyways. I'm not betting on a lot of goals in that one. All right, I'm not betting at all. Next up, Seattle and Edmonton. So, Decord versus Pickard. There was a play where it looked like maybe the Oilers had scored. It's reviewed. Nope, it went off both posts. It did not cross the line. So they get it back. At 7:17, McDavid roofs one from the left circle. Nugent Hopkins with the assist there. Makes it 1-0, and not long after, it's 7:34, so 17 seconds later, the Oilers score again. This time it's Podkolzin through to Cord on a cross-ice pass. The assist to Draisaitl and Bouchard. The Oilers would then get a power play they score on. At 11:27, it's Draisaitl scoring on the power play from McDavid and Nugent Hopkins. So things are starting to flow a little bit for the Oilers, although this is Seattle, a team they generally have eaten their lunch and taken the rest of their lunch money when they come to Edmonton. But Seattle would fight their way back into this one at 16:07. Tolvanen scores a one-timer from the right circle during the power play. Montour and Kakko with the assists. And then in the final minute, it's a turnover by Draisaitl, and Gaudreau gets the goal at 19:33, making it 3-2. So after one period of play, this game's still up for grabs. Second period, that does kind of change, doesn't it? 2:28 in, it's a shorthanded goal by Savoy, Bouchard and Henrique with the assists. We then get a 37-second 5-on-3 for the Kraken. Eventually that becomes a minute and 8 seconds of 4-on-4, which means on the other side of it, it's a power play for the Oilers, and they score on that. It's McDavid, wrister 5-hole from a sharp angle at 6:14, Bouchard and Draisaitl with the assists. So it is 5-2, and this is where they decided to get Decord out of the net and put in Grubauer. I don't know how many of those were on Decord, but he didn't have a great night. Then they welcome Grubauer to the game at 8:53. It's short side on a fast break. Zach Hyman with the goal, the assist to Ekholm, and that makes it 6-2 in favor of the Oilers. Eventually, though, that comes back. Seattle would score at 9:30, so 37 seconds later. McCann buries a rebound on a turnover. Eberle and Beniers with the assists. And then that's how the score is after 2 periods of play. The score 6-3 in favor of the Oilers. Third period, 2:03 in. Janmark gets his first goal since 1864. He buries a rebound on a turnover. Mangiapane with the assist there. So Janmark finally gets his first of the season. And then they celebrate at 6:59 by getting another power play goal. McDavid fires it into an open net. It bounced off the boards to him. He puts it in the empty net. It's the hat trick goal. Nugent Hopkins and Draisaitl with the assists, because of course it's Nugent Hopkins and Draisaitl with the assists. And it's 8-3 at this point. And that was the first 2 minutes of a double minor, and it becomes 2 minutes of 5-on-3. So during the 5-on-3, with 1 second left in the 5-on-3 actually, at 8:58, Savoy scores from Henrique and Ekholm, and it's another rebound goal, and it's 9-3. So this is where "We Want 10" started to get chanted by Edmonton fans. However, at 19:55, closing seconds, Newman gets one. He buries a rebound from the doorstep right, and Kakko with the assists. Just makes the final score 9-4. Pickard probably not happy with that goal, but either way, it's a 9-4 win. Pickard with his first win in a while, too. And so the 80s magnet's on the board, as is the No Mercy magnet, since it's a 5-goal difference in the score at the end. 13 goals in this game. Your 3 stars are McDavid, Draisaitl, and Savoy. Shots on net, 11-10 Seattle in the first, 13-10 Seattle in the second, 12-8 Edmonton in the third. Both teams had 32 shots. Power plays, Seattle 0-for-3, Edmonton 4-for-5. So there's your game. The hits, 23-22 in favor of Seattle. Decord saved 9 out of 14. Grubauer replaced him, saved 14 out of 18. Pickard saves 28 out of 32. Didn't have a bad game in general. Again, I probably would have wanted that one back at the end that Newman got, but either way, it's a victory. The Oilers will take it. And for Seattle, they're probably glad they're not going to see the Oilers in their next game. Because, in fact, their next game, I believe, is at home against Detroit, right? Yeah, they're at home against Detroit on Saturday. So that should at least be a little bit better, maybe. All right. Last game we're going to review, Chicago and LA. Knight versus Kemper. This game was joined about 10 minutes into the first period because, so ESPN takes the 7 o'clock start and makes it a 7:30 start. So they have the 7:30 start and the 10 o'clock start. It is the dumbest thing that ESPN does because you're guaranteed not to join this game in time, or you delay the puck drop by 20 minutes. They didn't delay the puck drop in this, so because the game beforehand, which was Columbus and Detroit, went to a shootout, this game was joined about 10 minutes in. So it's a good thing that there wasn't much that took place and there was no scoring in that first 10 minutes, but still. Because ESPN has the rights and everything, I don't have an option to watch it on any other channel. And it's just, if you're a Chicago or LA fan, they're kind of telling you, your game's not as important. This shootout between Columbus and Detroit, very, very important. Yeah, they're both below the playoff line. What about it? So there were 2 LA power plays in that first period. There was one for Chicago. What I saw of it was pretty entertaining period, but no scoring through one. Second period, we have 1:48 left in the Kings' third power play to start. That is killed off. Chicago then gets a power play they score on. At 6:17, Bedard tips in a net feed because, of course, Bedard's the one tipping in a net feed. Bertuzzi and Nazar with the assists. Nazar's gone a long time without a goal, but he is getting assists. Then, late in the period, one of those last-second kind of goals, 19:54 in. Kaiser goes 5-hole from the slot. Nazar and Moore with the assists makes it 2-0 for Chicago, and obviously that's your score through 40 minutes. In the third period, it stays 2-0 until just past the halfway mark at 10:38. Moore with a wrister from the left circle. Fogle with some good forechecking to set that up, and that makes it 2-1. With 5:01 left, the Hawks get a power play. That was killed off. I believe there was 2 shots on net during that. The goalie pull happens with 1 minute and 30 seconds left, and 4 seconds after that, it becomes 6-on-4. Chicago hangs on. They win this one 2-1, so the chess magnet's on the board for this one, which doesn't offset the 280s magnets. But we had a chess magnet on the first board as well, didn't we? Yeah, we did. So 2 chess games, two of the 80s games, and a no mercy with one of the 80s games as well. So your 3 stars in the Chicago-LA game, Kaiser, Nazar, and Kemper. Shots on net, 13-12 Chicago in the first, 12-8 Chicago in the second, 11-7 Chicago in the third. Final shots, 36-27 Chicago. Power plays, the Hawks 1 for 3, LA 0 for 4. The hits, 20-14 for the Kings. Knight saves 26 out of 27. Kemper saves 34 out of 36. All right, let's discuss the standings, shall we? All right, so this is weird. Colorado lost in regulation, so they're 19-2-6, 44 points in 27 games. I know, they got to trade somebody. Minnesota loses as well, 15-8-5 record, 35 points in 28 games. They're now 6 points back of Dallas and don't have a game in hand. The LA Kings, they miss out on an opportunity to tie Anaheim tonight. They're now 12-8-7, 31 points in 27 games. They also stay behind Vegas. Chicago's now the number 1 wild card, 12-9-6, 30 points in 27 games. So they're above the playoff line. Drops down Utah to the number 1 wild card. Drops San Jose to the 1 spot below the number 2 wild card. And then the Oilers, 12-11-5, 29 points in 28 games. They jump past Seattle, who are 11-8-6 now, 28 points in 25 games. Jets, 13-12-1, 27 points in 26 games. They drop down. Nashville moves up. They're 10-13-4, 24 points in 27 games. Look at this. Calgary's moved up as well, 10-15-4, 24 points in 29 games, which means Vancouver's dead last in the NHL standings. Yep. We knew this was coming at some point. 10-14-3, 23 points in 27 games. And again, I'm okay with it. I, as a Canuck fan, am okay with it. If they had a guarantee of at least drafting third, if they lose the draft lottery, but they can draft third, this is a good draft. You're drafting third, you're going to get a pretty darn good player. So let's see how they mess it up. All right, in the East, Tampa 16-9-2, 34 points in 27 games. Obviously, we're probably going to hear more about the goal that was called back. The Boston Bruins jump back into second, but they've played more games than everybody else. 29 games, 16-13 record, 32 points. They jump past Montreal, who dropped down to third. In the Metro, Carolina surprisingly lose tonight against Toronto, so they're 16-8-2, 34 points in 26 games. Pittsburgh jumps back into third place in the Metro, 14-7-5, 33 points in 26 games. Drop Philly down to the number 1 wildcard spot. They also have 33 points in 26 games, and New Jersey's now the number 2 wildcard, holding on for dear life to a playoff spot, and tomorrow they're at home against Vegas. So that should be interesting. The Islanders with their victory, 15-10-3, 33 points in 28 games. So they are waiting to replace New Jersey in that playoff spot. The Rangers, 15-12-2, 32 points in 29 games. Yeah, the Rangers are right there too. Columbus, 13-9-5, 31 points in 27 games. Detroit drops down, 31 points in 28 games for them. Ottawa, 30 points in 27 games as they drop down as well. Toronto, 13-11-3, 29 points in 27 games. All of a sudden, they're only 2 points back of Montreal, the team they're playing against on Saturday. So, there we are. Florida, 12-12-2, 26 points in 26 games. Still 500. Sitting now 7 points out of a playoff spot. But, yeah, we'll see how things go as December rolls along. and eventually Matthew Tkachuk's going to come back. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section below as always. Hit like and subscribe in the event you may not have done so already. Thank you guys so much for all your support. It's greatly appreciated. I will talk to you again soon.